Hello everyone, it's Marianne from Yarnwork Studio, and today I'm going to answer a question that I get asked a lot, especially on my TikTok posts. People comment and ask about weaving in ends onto garments. So we're going to talk about weaving in ends, and I'm in the middle of doing this beautiful Plumpy shawl, which is a pattern by Andrea and Mowry of Andrea Knits. This is the DK weight version, and it's got these beautiful brioche sections here. As well as garter sections in a lot of the different spots. So it's a great opportunity to show how I weave in ends on both brioche and on garter stitch using one whip that I have. The yarn for this is the gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous frosted stitch yarn. So Krista from the Frosted Stitch put together this color combination that has sort of this dark forest color. I believe it's actually called forest. It's got this beautiful Sprigs variegated, can't remember, oh my gosh, I want to say Eucalyptus for this color. And then this one's called Renaissance. So it's like a very cool sort of fade of variegated yarn. And I'm actually doing this as a sample knit for her. So you might actually see this if you go to any of her markets, because I'll send it back to her when I'm done with it. But I love the brioche sections because they just add so much sort of squish value and depth. And then the other side, it's reversible, which is another beautiful thing about brioche. But let's talk about weaving in ends. So I'll show you how I do in sort of both sections so that we can see it. But really, I'm just going to find an area that has some ends. So I've got this dark color, the really deep forest color end here at the end of this brioche section, as well as this little variegated one that's at the start of this garter section. So I can show you how I do both. Now keep in mind, when we weave in ends, honestly, there are right ways and wrong ways to do it, but there's no like best way, and it really depends on the person. So I'm going to show you how I do it. So the first thing I always do is I always make sure I put my yarn end into the wrong side if it's a two-sided thing. So if it's a sweater, take it to the inside and work it in there rather than working it on the outside. Now this is a shawl, it's meant to be kind of double-sided, but this is the right side and this one is already going down to the wrong side. You can kind of see it there, but make sure you're being careful when you're on edges. You don't want to accidentally do this because you can see the effect that that has, and then you'll end up with this wrong color on this sort of selvage edge that has a specific look to it. All right, but it's already on. Oh, of course, I smashed the camera. I'd like to do this in one take and not edit it at all because editing takes so much time. Okay, so onto the wrong side. I'm just going to see if I can refocus. There we go. Now onto the wrong side, garter stitch has sort of these ridges, and it's like this section of purl bumps that are spaced out. What I like to do when I'm weaving in these ends is usually I like to have a longer tail than this, but I don't. So what I do is I get up to the end of one of those garter ridges. So I'm just going to go underneath here so that I can be at the edge of one of these garter ridges. And if it's in the middle, that's fine. Just get up to the ridge. And I know this may not be what a lot of people do, but it is what I like to do. Which is I'll go in, I'm going to call this kind of the bottom bumps and this one the top bumps of this ridge. I'm going to go bottom to top, and I'm going to loop back down to the bottom one and then up. So I am zigzagging from the middle of this ridge all the way through. And it's going to look like it's going to slant those stitches, but bear with me and make sure it's focusing. Perfect. All right, so I've got it in there, and you can see it's almost made it look like a braid. And then I pull it through all the way, and then when I tug this back like this, it goes right back to being pretty much a standard looking garter stitch. Now some people like to secure it. In garter stitch, I think it's fine to let it go. So I'm going to block it and then I'll snip it nice and close. And then if it does fall through, it's going to fall through inside the back of this garter panel. So that's what I do on the garter side. I always leave my tails, or at least leave a short tail like this, till after I block, and then I come in and snip it because then I see if I do need to secure it further. So that is garter stitch. Moving on to the brioche. So again, this was the right side over here, and I've got this long dark green brioche tail to do. So again, the first thing is, and I should have mentioned this the first time, I'm going to make sure that this is a snug stitch. It's about the right size. I don't want it to be way bigger than the others, but I'm also going to push this back to the back of the work. There we go. And I do want to keep it kind of big because the stitches along here are kind of big. Then I'm going to slip to the other side. Now what I need to do, what I like to do with brioche is I like to hide it in the right colored sort of, I don't even know what you call this, the brioche knit sections. But my yarn's over here. I don't have a long section to work with, so I need to get over there. So to get over there, I'm going to go across through all these sort of knit legs. And again, it's fine to do this, but make sure you don't pull it really tight when you go through. So I'm pulling it. I don't want to make it super tight because that's going to make it cinch up. That's not good. So I'm going to give it a nice stretch, make sure it's getting there in a not too tight or restricted way. Now what I'm going to do is the same that I do for ribbing, which is I'm going to go up here, across, and then down. I'm just going to take a second and refocus to make sure we're all good on the camera. Okay, so I do the same thing in ribbing. Once I'm at sort of the bottom of one, I'm going to go up and across and down. So when I go, if it's slanting this way, I'm going up through from the outside in. So I'm going to start on the second one because I'm already through that first one, just moving the yarn over. I'm just taking my needle and going from the outside to the inside, following those stitches until there's one left. Then I'm going to pull it up and again, give it a stretch. You don't want this too tight. Then I'm going underneath both bars of the top stitch here, or however far you go up. Give it a stretch. And then because now they're slanting this way, I'm going to go from the inside out. And I'm going to go down to the bottom like this. And then I'm going to pull it through. I'm going to give it a little tug, which is good. And then I'm going to stretch it. Then I'm going to pull it out. And if you stare at it hard, you can tell that I've duplicate stitched kind of over it. But no one's going to stare at it hard. It's on the wrong side and it doesn't look different enough. And this is really secure. So once I block it, I'll snip this here and it will fall back up in here. And you're not going to see that poke out, at least not in my experience. So hopefully that helps. Again, what I typically do once I put something in and secure it, and then I'll cut it, but I'll leave some extra in case I need to. And then I can also tell the difference between the ones I've woven in and the ones I haven't. I'm going to snip this one just a little bit too. And then I'll keep those there, but these are much more manageable for if I'm trying to take shots of my whip as I go along. And it is still nice and loose, which it needs to be because this shawl is going to stretch out. And you don't want it to have a tight end, a tight side. So you got to make sure when you're doing it, weaving in ends anywhere in your garment, you want to make sure you're weaving it in so that you are keeping sort of the tension that you need, especially on the edges, especially on something that might need to stretch a little bit. Same goes for if you're doing like the cuff of a ribbing. You don't want to weave in an end that's going to make it bunch up or be hard to stretch and lose its stretch. So always as you're weaving, be giving your projects stretches. And that's it. Thanks for joining. Again, if you want to ask questions about how things go, feel free to comment. My main platform is TikTok and Instagram, and so I'm more responsive to things there, but I love putting little videos together to help people enjoy their crafting so much more. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you later.